Part 1. World's First Vasectomy. Picture this. You aren't just the emperor, you're a totalitarian micromanager with a serious ego problem. Your father, Vespasian, and your brother Titus were men of the people. They acted like first among equals. They played the game, but not you. You're Domitian. You don't want to be first. You want to be Dominus et Deus, Lord and God. You literally demand that people address you that way in official documents. You don't just want Rome's taxes. If it would be possible, you would take the souls of the people as well. You spend your reign systematically stripping the Senate of their lunch money and their dignity. You've turned the Roman Empire into a high-security prison where the walls have ears. You've executed dozens of Senate members for treason. The evidence? Usually just a vibe or a bad joke they made at a party. You're obsessed with traditional values, but in the creepiest way possible. You even had a Vestal virgin buried alive because you decided she was immoral. Because you've spent 15 years being a nightmare to everyone around you. You've become your own biggest victim. You're so consumed by paranoia that you've turned your palace into a literal hall of mirrors. You had the walls of the porticos lined with highly polished moonstone. Why? So that no matter where you are, you can see the reflection of anyone sneaking up behind you. You even executed your own cousin, Flavius Clemens, just because he seemed a little too quiet for your liking. But today, September 18th, 96 AD, your obsession with safety actually becomes your downfall. You know a knife is coming, as treating your people like dirt usually does not end well. A trusted servant named Stephanus approaches you. He's got his arm in a heavy wool bandage, claiming he's injured. You let him get close because, hey, what's a guy with one arm going to do to the Emperor of Rome? You're looking at a document he handed you when suddenly the injured arm moves. He wasn't hurt, he was hiding a dagger. However, he doesn't go for your chest or throat. He stabs you right in the groin. You scream, but you don't just die. This is where things get messy. Even with a massive, life-threatening wound, you, a 44-year-old emperor, fight back like a cornered animal. You're grappling with Stephanus, trying to gouge his eyes out with your bare fingers, while your blood is literally pouring onto the expensive mosaic floor. You're fighting for your life with nothing but your hands until the rest of the assassins burst into the room. They finish the job, stabbing you 7 more times until you finally stop moving. Let's look at the biology of that first devastating blow. Why did he go for your groin? Because from a tactical perspective, it's one of the most efficient places to shut a human being down. The blade hits your groin. You don't feel pain yet. You feel pressure and a weird cold sensation. Your nociceptors, pain-sensing neurons, haven't even finished sending the ow signal to your brain before the steel has already passed through your dermis and sliced into the iliacus muscle. The tip of the dagger finds the femoral artery. This is a biological disaster. This artery is under massive pressure because it's the main line from your heart to your legs. The moment it's severed, you don't ooze blood, you exsanguinate. We're talking about a high-pressure spray that can hit the ceiling. Within 5 seconds, your blood pressure begins to crater. Because you're fighting back, your heart rate is screaming at 150 plus beats per minute. Your body is literally trying to save you by pumping blood faster. But because the pipe is broken, your heart is just acting like a high-powered pump for a broken sprinkler. You are dumping a liter of blood onto the floor every 30 seconds. Your brain is the most selfish organ in your body. It takes 20% of your oxygen. As your blood volume drops, your brain starts getting brownouts. You feel dizzy. Your vision, already shaky from the moonstone reflections, starts to go dark at the edges. This is cerebral hypoxia. You're still trying to gouge Stephanus's eyes out, but your movements are becoming sluggish, like you're fighting underwater. Why aren't you dead yet? Thank your adrenal medulla. It has just dumped a massive, last-stand dose of norepinephrine into your system. This is your body's emergency override. It's masking the trauma and keeping your muscles firing even though you've lost 30% of your total blood volume. Biologically, you are a ghost in the machine. The machine is broken, but the software is still trying to run the survival program. As the other assassins burst in and add 7 more entry wounds, your heart finally loses prime. There isn't enough fluid left to create pressure. Your heart rhythm dissolves into ventricular fibrillation, which means uncoordinated twitching. Your brain finally shuts off the lights. The God of Rome is now just a collection of cooling, deoxygenated cells. Part 2. Taste of the liquid sun. Imagine this. You're the richest man in the history of the world. You don't just have wealth. You have, I could buy the entire Senate and still have change for a small country wealth. You are Marcus Licinius Crassus. You've conquered the slave revolt of Spartacus. You've funded Julius Caesar's entire career, and you're 1/3 of the triumvirate ruling Rome. But you have a problem. You're 60 years old, and your buddies Caesar and Pompey have something you don't: military glory. You're the money guy in a society that only respects the war guy. So to prove you're not just a glorified accountant, you take 7 legions into the desert of modern-day Turkey to fight the Parthians. It goes poorly. Your army is slaughtered. Your son's head is paraded on a spear. And now you're sitting in the dirt, surrounded by enemies who know exactly who you are. They know you're the man whose greed has no limit, and they've decided to give you exactly what you've spent your life chasing. It's June 9th, 53 BC, and you are officially desperate. Your legions have been dismantled in the Parthian sun, and your reputation, the only thing you care about more than your gold, is in the gutter. The Parthians offer you a peace talk. To anyone else, it's an obvious, screaming trap. But you're blinded by the need to salvage this disaster and go home a hero. You decide to roll the dice. The moment you arrive at the meeting point, the negotiation ends and the slaughter begins. The swords come out, and the richest man in Rome is cut down in the dust like a common thief. But the Parthians aren't satisfied with just making you a corpse. They want to make you a metaphor. They want to turn your life's work into your death's punchline. While your body is still warm, they bring out a crucible. Inside, they've been melting down the very thing you spent your life hoarding: gold. The Parthians didn't just kill you. They performed a high-temperature chemistry experiment on your internal organs. Let's look at what would happen if they poured the gold down your throat if you were still alive. Gold melts at 1,064 degrees Celsius. For context, the boiling water in your kettle is 100 degrees Celsius. This isn't just a burn, this is a total phase shift of human tissue. The moment that liquid metal hits the tongue and throat, the moisture in the cells doesn't just heat up, it instantaneously turns to steam. This is called the Leidenfrost effect, but at these temperatures, it's useless. The steam expands so fast, it likely ruptures the esophagus before the gold even reaches the stomach. As the gold enters the throat, the heat is so intense that the air in the windpipe reaches hundreds of degrees. Your lungs would have been seared from the inside out by the rising heat before a single drop of gold even touched them. Here's the weird part. Gold is heavy and conducts heat incredibly well. As it flows down, it's not just burning, it's cooling. It begins to solidify as it transfers its heat into the surrounding meat. Within seconds, the liquid gold would turn into a solid, jagged cast of his esophagus and stomach. From a biological perspective, Crassus didn't just die of burns. He died of systemic thermal shock and internal structural failure. His organs were literally cooked from the inside out while being crushed by the weight of the metal they were meant to hold.